Hey guys, welcome to the Common Man Review. Here, we're going to be reviewing movies and many other things in the future. My name's Andrew, and this is Trevor
How's it going, everybody?
and JC.
Hello, everyone.
And today, we're going to be talking about V for Vendetta.
Yeah, so V for Vendetta 2005, starring Hugo Weaving and Natalie Portman. Your guys' first thoughts on the movie?
Trevor?
I mean, straight up, I liked it right off the bat. I thought it was real interesting. Also, anything Natalie Portman, awesome. Love her. But I just think, as a movie in general, I thought it was really good, real interesting.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. One of my absolute favorites. I just think everything about it's so good. The action, just the dialogue throughout the whole movie is absolutely crazy.
You
I
really
think
have
that's
to
my favorite part.
listen. You got to listen
agree.
to the dialogue. It's very intricate sometimes,
Yeah, it really is.
the way he says things. But yeah, the action too. When he's just going around, just slicing people up, awesome. But
We
yeah,
should really
I
have some
think we should start at the
backstory into
beginning.
what this movie's about real quick. So, it's a masked man. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a masked man wearing the Guy Fawkes mask. Everyone knows the Guy Fawkes mask, just like the anonymous guys, the same shit that they wear. That's where they got it from. But he's like this rebellious terrorist, and he's trying to take down the government, essentially. It's sick.
Well, yeah, and I mean, my take on this movie, I really liked how it was a different approach to a vigilante type character. It wasn't the
Definitely.
vigilante that's, out there just to destroy crime or beat the bad guys. It was the bad guy who everyone thinks is the bad guy, who is really not the bad guy, trying to do more good for the overall people, everyone. And I thought it was a great approach of what they did with that. I mean, it was fantastic. Like you said, the action and the story they gave him, I thought it was really good narrative, really good storytelling with a person that, it's just a completely new character. Like, who is V?
Yeah.
This
Like
movie was
JC,
just like, whoa, this is pretty cool. This guy is a different take on like a Batman type figure, but
yeah.
completely different.
Like JC,
I was
we spoke about this real quick last week for like 2 seconds when you first started watching the movie. You
Mhm.
straight up told me, you're like, oh, I really think he could be the bad guy, but he probably isn't. But you only got
Yeah.
so far in the movie where he only did bad things. He
Yeah,
just
I only got
seemed
into
like he was the bad guy. That's how he was
Mhm.
portrayed throughout the whole beginning of the movie.
Yeah. I only got into 30 minutes in the movie, and I'm like, he seems like the bad guy straight off the bat. Like, there has to be a story that tells us why he's like this. But then, in the back of my mind, I was saying, is he the bad guy, though? Is he the bad guy? We'll see.
Yeah, and you just see the whole story unfold. What were you
Exactly. You
going to
see the
say, Trevor?
whole story. Yeah.
you see a whole person's thoughts and emotions unfold is what you really see. Super interesting.
Yeah. You guys know the scene, you obviously do, where Evie, Natalie Portman, she's in the alley with the fingerman, and she asks who he is afterwards, and he goes, who is but like the form following what? And what is like
Mhm.
the idea behind the mask, blah, blah, blah. I
Mhm.
thought that was crazy. He's just like, who is but the form following the what? And he's basically saying he himself is an idea rather than a human being.
Exactly. And,
Yeah,
and it's also funny, too, because it's like, why are you asking someone who they are when they're wearing a mask?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Like,
he
who
said that.
asks
He
a
said
masked
that
guy
too.
who they are?
Yeah, you don't ask a person wearing a mask, who are you? Because that defeats the purpose of wearing a
Exactly.
mask.
When the
So he's
man's
just like,
robbing the bank, you don't ask who they are.
exactly, he's just mocking Natalie Portman's character. What's her name? In
Evie.
the Evie.
Evie.
It's just like, why are you asking that?
Awful. But
But that scene was incredible, dude. That was the first, like, whoa, right off the back, we're already like, damn, okay, here we go. The movie's already going, cooking up.
the whole monologue that follows, almost every
V.
single
The
word
V
is a
with
V word,
everything.
and he's just going
Crazy.
off, just dun 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 dun. dun.
He's just going faster and faster
It's
and
insane.
faster, just V after V after V. incredible monologue.
If I
It was
had the
one of the
monologue in
notes
front
that
of
I
me,
wrote.
I wouldn't even be able to read it off just because I wouldn't do it
Nope.
justice with how well Hugo Weaving did that. Just
Yes.
insane. Most of the he had a few different monologue type parts throughout the whole movie, and all of them were just crazy. I think that was probably the best part of the whole movie, just the dialogue that V's character had throughout the whole thing.
He sounded very smart and sophisticated.
Yeah, it was
You know,
very intellectual.
Definitely,
because he knew what
a
he was
smart
doing.
person.
He knew what he was doing from the get-go. He knew what his plans were. So everything he thought out and laid out for everything that was to come within the movie, he was so smart about it and knew what he was doing from the get-go. It was just, this is my plan, and I'm going to do it. And here's how.
Yeah, he had everything planned out. He knew how to get onto things, how to, literally from the beginning, how to take over the PA systems. He had that church, like the statue that blows up in the beginning. He had that all wired already. He knew exactly how to get into the TV work later on. He was very smart. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
For sure.
What did you guys think about the beginning of the movie, like the straight beginning? Taking place in
The very first scene
1605.
is way back.
1605. Yeah.
I really liked how they started off with that.
Yeah,
Me too. I
agree.
was like, okay, we're starting in 1605. This is already going to be like, I'm very happy this is happening.
Yeah,
'Cause
they
it's
they
giving
showed the
you,
actual Guy Fawkes person
yes,
to
person
kind of
and the
show the whole like
this is the whole,
basis of the movie.
yes.
the idea.
Kind of.
The whole premise
That's
of the
the
movie is
idea.
the idea of living longer, and that is the idea right there.
That's the
With
what that is explained in the
him.
first like 2 minutes of the whole movie.
Exactly.
Essentially. Going back to that scene we were just talking about with the monologue and everything. I wrote down this quote while I was watching it just because I thought it was hysterical in the moment. V's talking. V just finishes talking. Like Evie's sitting there asking the question, like, "Oh, who are you?" Blah blah blah. And she goes, "Are you like a crazy person?" I thought that was fucking hysterical.
That was hilarious.
He goes, I'm sure he's like, I'm sure they'd say I am. Also a great line. He's just like, yeah.
He's pretty much taking on that Batman symbol. Like, they can think whatever they want about me, but I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I did not know, because I was reading some articles more about the movie, the background of it. I did not know it took place in the late 2020s. The movie is taking place during the late 2020s, I guess.
Really?
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
I had no
that it
idea
was
what
kinda
year.
like that.
Because did you notice it was like something in the movie? But America had a war. Like we had another civil war.
There's
Within
an
the
American
movie.
war, but
And that war moved to England. Like it came to England, and it screwed everything up. So, and then I guess it took, like, there was a huge time period, so they had to put the movie in like the late 2020s. I guess that's what people were saying. I don't remember them ever saying like, "Oh, this is the year that's taking place."
No, that wasn't. I don't think that was ever part of the movie.
Yeah, it wasn't. So it's just like, but
yeah, no. The way that I figured out what general time period they were in, when Natalie Portman's character is in the like torture cell and she's getting the notes in that story, that person is saying, she said a few dates. She said like, oh, in 2005 it was whatever, but then she said, well, in 2000, she says in 2015 something else happens, and then right after that she goes
yes,
to prison.
yes,
But so in 2015 she's in prison, V is in prison, so it had to be a few years.
yes.
He was going to be in prison for a little bit still, and then out of prison, and then I'm assuming this takes place a few years outside of him being in prison, and then the movie takes place over a full year.
Yeah,
So it has to be mid to later 2020s.
And he straight up says at the end of the movie, I don't know if you guys recall this, but he said in the end of the movie that the whole plan took him just about 10 years to create. So that kind of adds to the timeline.
Was that 10 years including him within the prison or
No. That's after. That has to be after the scene of him being the Burning Man.
Mm-hmm. Which we'll get to. Which we'll get to.
But
Well, so if it's 10 years, that means it might even be in the 30s, if you think about it. If it's not until the moment he gets out of jail is when he starts thinking about all of the whole plan. If that took 10 years, there's a chance that this takes place in even the early 30s.
Yeah, 2030s. There's a huge chance it could. And it makes sense, too. It does. Because she even said it, the person, the woman who wrote on the toilet paper, like, I was born in 1985. You know, so it's just like she was 20 in 2005, and she didn't look 20 as those scenes started to go out, and like you can see her life move on. It was just like you could tell she was getting older, so had to be in that time period of like either 20s or even early 30s.
Yeah.
Which I think is a cool time period because it's like now for us that's present, we're in the 2020s, and this movie was made in 2005, so it's like this is our take of what the 2020s may look like.
Exactly. Like
Straight up,
the second half of
there's things in this movie that just.
It's like whoa.
But
let's try and chug along slightly chronologically.
Yes.
So after that whole ordeal in the alleyway, he's like, "Oh, you like music? Blah blah blah. Let's go see the show. Like I have the whole orchestra coming out tonight."
That was super cool.
So they get up to that roof, and he's like, "Do you know what the date is?" And she goes, "November 4th." Bells start going, the midnight bell, and he goes, "It's the 5th now," or whatever. He's like, "Not anymore." And then
he's just like, "Not anymore."
The music starts playing. He's sitting there pretending like he's the
orchestra,
the orchestrator,
the
maestro, John Williams.
And I liked when he goes, and the crescendo, and then boom,
yes. Perfect timing. And she's like, I can't hear anything. Oh, I can hear it now. Oh,
she's like, oh
everyone's like, oh my god, and then building explodes, fireworks everywhere.
Everyone's in the street.
V in the firework.
Yes, that was cool.
That was so cool.
Which the V was a huge part of the movie, the huge part of the narrative too, because it was that symbol. That symbol itself represented way more than I feel like regular audience goers would like think of. That letter V is just
in the whole movie.
It's just
there's more meaning to it. It's literally a movie about like the whole vendetta that V holds against the government, and he's looking for the vengeance, letter V again, against them.
Mm-hmm. His cell, V.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And going to the back to that alleyway scene too in the beginning of the movie when he's like, I am douche on the wall. And it's just like, looks like, turns to her. That's who I am. Call me
He's
V.
just like, yeah, I'm V.
Call me V. What a name too. Just call me V.
Fantastic. So simple.
I thought his house was super cool.
The little underground bunker.
His whole bunker set up with just
everything in it.
Stolen stuff. Not stolen, but reclaimed.
Nope, yep, not stolen. Yes,
reclaimed.
Reclaimed. Yeah, I thought it
was. What a way.
Oh.
And this movie too was a big take on, real life issues when it comes to politics and government, which I found very interesting.
Definitely.
Big take on like this is what happens when governments have way too much power, and this is what could happen. And then you have people like V, who have that, this is. I'm gonna be the one who fights against the oppressor.
They're woke. He's the woke guy. He knows what's happening, and everyone else is like, huh?
Rebellion against injustice.
Yes. Kind of steering away from this, but I picked up on this. I've watched this movie a bunch of times, but I picked up on this today when I was watching it. So you know how what's it called? The chancellor, whatever, is on the screen talking to like his committee with Creedy and everything. The whole time, I don't know if you guys saw this, his pupils are extremely dilated. They're the size of his eyeball. And I'm like, he has bright lights on his face. This just doesn't make sense. I thought that just didn't make sense. And it was in every single scene of him on the screen. His pupils were massive.
Kind of weird.
Did not make sense at all. I was like, what?
It looked weird.
I thought that was just a
weird.
detail that kind of irked me a little bit. I was like, what?
Yeah. What do you guys think of that whole him up on the big screen, like the five, like I guess, committee members?
To me, it looked like a whole nother Third Reich shit. If Hitler was in 2020, I'm the main guy. I'm the top guy. This is how you know, and you guys are my minions, and you do what I tell you.
He's essentially saying he's so much more important that he doesn't even need to see the like heads on his council committee, whatever you want to call them, in person. He doesn't even need to see them.
He does,
He just has to talk to them.
Mm-hmm. And like get it done, because if you don't,
tell them what he wants. Leading with the fucking iron fist over here.
Exactly. It's a totalitarianism government, essentially.
Yeah, awful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and you could relate Prothero, the dude that's like, England prevails, blah blah blah. That guy.
I hated that guy.
Awful. You can relate to him as the dude, the big like spokesperson media guy that was also
Joseph Goebbels.
Right. Yeah, Goebbels.
Joseph Goebbels.
Yeah.
That's him.
That was the name.
I am England.
That's his character in that. He's like,
it is.
I am the voice of England. That's literally, he professed himself as the voice of England.
It's pretty much the Third Reich, just in England, 2020s or 2030s.
Yeah.
Essentially. Which I find very interesting, because it just shows what governments can really be like if they have too much power. I said that earlier, but it just proves. Like, that's how life could be. Your government lying to you all the time, doing nasty things to the people, but also saying to the media, like, you can't report this, you need to report this because this is what happened. Even though it didn't happen. It's just
everything.
Exactly. It's like, I'm going to scare you.
Yeah, all the propaganda going out, all that. Like, they took those clippets of the videos they were shooting inside the Jordan Tower, the news center, and made it seem like they killed V. And then he's like, the fuck?
Yeah.
And even the little girl, she's like, Alex. And she left. She's like, she's not dead.
She's like that. No, like,
the kid knows. The kid knows.
Because you can't kill the idea. Only the man.
Exactly.
Even though the man wasn't dead.
Yeah, even though
you said it earlier, too, and it was perfect. Like, he's really not the man. He's the idea. He's the spark.
He embodies the idea in physical form.
Of everyone. Yeah. I am everyone. He's my father. We'll get to that.
That
was amazing.
That
was great. That was great.
But what's it called? I liked how V later on, not later on. This is inside his bunker with Evie the first time, like after he cooked for her and everything. But he straight up said how violence can be used for good. And then she later said how her father used to always say, artists use lies to tell the truth, and politicians use lies to cover it up. I feel like those kind of go hand in hand with, like, together.
And
violence,
the people
lying, the truth, the propaganda, the fake news. Everything is being used to fight for and against the government.
Yeah. Definitely. And he also said, like, people should not be afraid of their government. The government should be afraid of their people. I love that line. That was a powerful line to me.
I think I wrote that line down too in my notes.
People should not be afraid of their government. The government should be afraid of their people.
Yeah.
That's such a true statement.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at how many revolutions there have been throughout the whole course of history. It's the people overthrowing the government.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
When everyone comes together, they can just...
Yep, exactly.
Cut the head off the fucking government right there.
Exactly. Back to the whole Jordan Towers scene. I thought it was kind of funny how when Natalie Portman's wheeling all the boxes, and the guy's like, "Oh, did you like X-ray them?" She was like, "Yep, all of them filled with explosives." like sarcastically.
Yeah.
Jokes
Foreshadowing.
on you. Jokes on you, because they definitely were filled with explosives.
Dude, too. I think it was
No,
that.
they weren't.
No, they were filled with the masks
Didn't those have explosives in
They were
them
filled with
too?
the masks and the costumes that they dressed up the
that she brought
hostages
into
as.
the girls, like the live show
I
girls.
thought those had some explosives in it too, because he had the vest
No,
that he
because
had
he
on.
had the whole vest on. That's
Yeah,
what
he
he
was
ended up
wearing
putting
it.
on the thing. Yeah, he took that off and put that.
But do you remember when she walked in with like the cart and she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what are you watching?" And he's like, "Oh, you haven't heard of this? It's banging." I'm just like,
Yeah,
"Yes,
he was like, "This show's banging."
this show's banging."
Okay.
In the English accent, bro,
Alright.
it was the funniest thing.
I love the British accents through the whole.
So good. And Natalie Portman did a great
Definitely.
job with
Yeah,
her
she
British
did.
accent. I was very impressed. Very impressed. But that whole sequence within the newsroom was, I was just on the edge of my seat the whole time. I'm just like,
It was so good.
whoa.
It
He's
was so
so good
good.
at his job. He's so good at just taking over at the moment. He doesn't need any planning. He can just go in really and just be like, I'm gonna change everything, which he did in those scenes in the news station.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised towards the end of that scene too, when the other detective like comes up behind him and is like, "Freeze! Like it's over! Like you're caught!" And he's like, He's like, I don't think so." And then Natalie Portman like maces him. I thought that was interesting that she made that decision kind of quickly after meeting this guy one time.
Well, remember throughout the movie, he talks about like these are the reasons why you did all this. You know, like
Yeah.
trusted yourself, and you know the true meaning of what's going on, and you know what to do, like the right thing to do.
Also, everything that happened to her family, like her
Yes.
parents were political activists against the government completely, and so it's like kind of
And her
ingrained in her
brother.
from when she was a young age.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of like rebellious type thing. So after the whole priest situation, they leave the rose. I forget what it's called. I'll get to it later. It's somewhere in my notes.
Sexy.
But so at the autopsy, the inspector, he's talking to the doctor, the coroner, and he ends up handing her the rose. Did you guys pick up on that look on her face? She was terrified.
Terrified in that
Pure
moment.
terror on her face.
Mm-hmm.
That I saw that and I was like, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I've already seen the movie a bunch of times, so it's not like I knew what was the whole situation, but
Yeah.
I was like,
but still, yeah.
you know something's
Seeing her
up. It's
face,
big foreshadowing right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's just like,
she was like,
oh no.
This is bad.
Coming for
This ain't
you.
good.
Like, this is
she
bad.
knew she was dead from the moment she saw that flower. The moment she saw it.
Immediately.
And two, like after that, the scene that followed, I thought that scene was a very powerful moment within the film.
Are you talking about the flashback to Lark Hill? Is that what it's called?
No, I think I'm talking about the scene.
Flashback, or when he went to go kill her?
We're talking about the older woman, right?
Yeah, the coroner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lady
I'm
was doing
talking
the
about the
autopsy.
scene when she's in the bed.
All right.
Yeah, that.
Pause.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
That flashback, right? The flashback's the scene right before that.
Mm-hmm.
But that flashback, I thought it had one of the craziest frames throughout the whole movie. That whole mass grave. They showed it from above.
Fucked up.
Super fucked up.
They did a lot of those shots within the movie, above shots from the like a ceiling shot. Fantastic.
Yeah, but that whole bird's eye view of that mass grave, insane. That was just a crazy frame, crazy image right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it looked a lot like some old paintings I've seen of like those, I don't know, orgies, I guess you could say. You know, all the people sprawled out in the paintings, like the old paintings. They're all sprawled out randomly naked. I mean, they're all. It's the same thing, except they were all just dead bodies tossed in the dirt, dirty. I thought that was a
Yeah.
weird
I mean,
portrayal.
I was
Like, these are
thinking
the
it
ones who
was
But they
didn't
were
more
very
like
survive.
similar.
concentration camps, but yeah, we can go
That
both
well,
ways.
no, I was
Yeah,
thinking
that
about that.
that
I'm
as
like,
well.
We can go with that too.
yeah,
That as
no, it's
well.
true
I was
though.
just saying I've seen some paintings
Hmm.
that look very similar to that
Fair
scene,
enough.
and I was like, that's something I picked up on.
And what I got from that scene too is like, going back to the government, it's just like, this is what governments can do when you have no idea what's going on.
Oh yeah.
This is what they can be doing, which is the wrong thing. And it's just
Like
like,
you start wiping people out.
exactly,
Yeah.
and those people wouldn't even know because everything's controlled. The news is controlled, everything, so people don't know that happened. And then until you have, of course, V, that one person who's like, nope, I'm standing up against what they do, what they've done, and we're gonna fix it now. I'm gonna rebel, and I want the people behind me, and I know they will be behind me if they know this is what our government has done. It's just like that scene to me was very powerful, very disturbing too, just to see the
Super
fucking bodies just
disturbing
dumped in a.
to see what they were
Yeah.
doing.
Because like you said, it was
Disgusting.
a Holocaust. It reminded me of the Holocaust. Like I hate to say it, but it did, and it's just like
That was
that shit
depressing. I
really
thought of.
happened. Yeah, that shit has really happened in human life, in human history.
It's happened
And it's
many times
just
over and over
many
again throughout the
times,
course of human history. It's
so many
awful.
times.
Fucked up, honestly.
But I thought it was crazy how they were testing a virus on all of those people. That's what killed them. They were
Hmm.
testing a virus. They were injecting them with a virus to try and weaponize it to use against their own people. It was disgusting.
It's
Yeah,
horrible,
that's
horrible.
It's
fucked
awful.
up.
And
But
you know what's fucking insane? So they had this virus. They end up using this virus is used in the movie. Like in the history of the movie. That whole St. Mary's thing, the Three Waters, just about 100,000 people killed by this whole
100,000
virus.
people.
Mm-hmm.
That, what's his name? The Chancellor. I forget his name now. The S. Sutler, something like that. I don't know.
Something like that. Chancellor.
But he
That guy. He doesn't deserve it.
he released that virus to cause fear and chaos, just to be able to change the tide of that election coming up so that he could win and usurp all the power from the people and everybody else and just control them. They're all locked in their houses.
Yeah, no, exactly.
There's a whole quarantine zone and everything.
It's horrible.
Everyone has to follow these strict rules. It's awful. And that's
like literally
that's also how Evie's brother died because of the virus at St. Mary's. He was
on the
Exactly. I
Mary's
was just gonna bring
school.
that up. Her brother was among those killed at St.
Yeah.
Mary's. So she lost everyone. She lost
Yeah, she did lose everyone.
And his name in the movie's Adam Susan. The guy who plays the Chancellor. Well, that's the Chancellor's name, I guess. The guy who really plays him is John Hurt, and sadly he has passed away. Died in 2017. But yeah, that guy.
Unfortunate. Rip.
John.
Rip indeed. But going back to Evie losing people, this made me think of this is a thing that I saw throughout the whole movie in a bunch of different scenes. They were essentially duplicate scenes of maybe 5 different things, so 10 scenes. There was like doubles, like the scene with Evie as a child under the bed when her family was taken, and then when she was at Gordon's place,
house, yep.
exact same thing. And it happened multiple times throughout the whole movie. You would see something happen in the past, and then once again later on. You saw that happen in one of the closer towards the end of the movie. V, when he comes out as the Burning Man, he's like, ah. Evie did the same thing, not screaming, but out in the rain.
With the rain.
And he was witnessing that.
Yeah.
And he was like, wow, I'm seeing myself within her.
Essentially
My
seeing
plan's
himself.
working.
Exactly.
My plan's working. I'm seeing people starting to realize that what I'm trying to do is what has to be done. And I'm starting to see it first in her, which was a great sequence in the movie.
I just thought, that whole scene of how they were going from the burning to her in the rain, back to him in the burning, back to her in the rain. I just thought that looked so cool. It was so good. It was fantastic.
It was.
But yeah, there were so many duplicate scenes.
Yeah, some of the sequences were just great sequences like that. How they kept going back and forth, showing that.
And then
Can I get to this?
Standing there, the inspector, and she's like, "Inspector, do you like music?"
Yeah, she brought him along, just like V brought her along.
Exactly.
Essentially.
What did you guys think about the detective? I liked him. I know he was working for the bad guys, but I knew you could tell he was progressing.
But he wasn't on the same level as him in as the Chancellor and Creedy. Not on the same level.
He was more
because
wait a minute.
Was focused on justice, essentially.
Yep.
He was kind of naively following the whole narrative that the Chancellor and the whole government was leading everybody along. He was just blindly following that, and then he finally saw, and you saw him progress.
Exactly. Yes.
Throughout the whole movie, how he was starting to like actually open his eyes and see what was really happening.
As soon as he started to uncover a lot of things, it's just like, I didn't know about this. Our government did this. Wait, our government told us this, but this is what really happened. Like you said, he started to realize, he started to slowly progress, which I thought was great for a character that's not the main character, but still very important to the film.
Yeah.
That was a great job to do with one of those characters.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing of where he started to see what was really going on was when the coroner dies and he takes her journal. And he's in the meeting with just him and the Chancellor. And the Chancellor's like, this doesn't get out, nothing. Basically covers up everything. And he's sitting there like,
let me read this.
He's like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, I see why he's trying to start revolution and why he's anti-government. Yeah, the inspector was starting to.
Well, he didn't end up seeing that. Yeah, he didn't end up really seeing that until the end of the movie. But like, even before that, you could tell that they knew that he was already looking into it because he was looking at the stuff for Lark Hill, and then he had that huge breakthrough because he was the first on scene at the coroner's apartment, house, whatever.
Exactly.
So he was the first one to grab the journal and everything. So he finally got the information he was looking for that they were hiding from everybody.
Yep.
With all the missing files and everything. He finally got the information.
Do you remember a scene when he read it? Remember, he read it. He looked into it. Do you remember, too, after there's a scene of him when he's sitting in a chair with like a bottle of scotch or something, and he's just sitting there like, all like, what did I just read? Like, oh my God. And I think at that moment when he's by himself in his house, sitting in the couch, all dark, and you can just see the facial expression like, what have we been living through? What do we not know?
Well, his whole reality
that
was
time
upside down
in
that moment.
Just like
After
that.
After reading that journal, his whole reality was turned upside down.
And I think that's the moment where that character said, you know, maybe it's time to start going a different way, maybe lean more towards V and what he's doing. And I feel like he did. Ultimately, he did.
Yeah, even though he was still trying to.
Yeah.
Ultimately, he did, and he was still kind of. I want to say on his side, but he's not on his side.
He was just trying to do his job.
Still kind of leaning towards him while trying to do his job.
Yes, and I think that's one of the biggest motivators and biggest factors with him is that he was still just trying to do his job as a detective.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, you saw it close to the end. You know, he was just like, "Do it." You
He's
know what
like,
I
yep.
mean? Like, just do it.
He knew
Do it
what was best for everybody.
for the country. Yeah,
Everybody
for
else.
everyone, the country, and for himself.
Yeah.
Like maybe this could be the future for me and everyone else in this country. I love the detective. I thought he was a very interesting character and very important to the story. Cause he was so into it. He's like, I need to figure this out. I need to catch this bastard. He
He was
never did.
constantly
He was
searching for
so
the truth.
he was so close though. He was
Because
talking to him.
yeah, he was constantly searching for the truth.
Mhm.
And V had the truth. And then Creedy and the Chancellor were trying to swipe all the truth away. Those are the three
Exactly.
different aspects of the whole story. You have
I
the
think,
detective searching for the truth the whole time, then V, and then the Creedy and the Chancellor.
yeah, I think one of the real good scenes with like the detective, the inspector, was when he's talking to his partner and he was like, I went back to like wherever that jail, I forget the name of it, whatever
Yep,
the jail
I
was.
remember that.
He's like, I wanted to go back, and he's like, and all of a sudden I just
It clicked at
saw
Lark Hill.
everything connect, and he just started like figuring everything out, piecing everything together, and he knew what was coming, but like he didn't know what was coming, you know, like after that, because even the detective's like, so you know what he's doing next, and he was like, no, but I mean, he kind
I have
of
an idea.
knew. Yeah, it was. I just thought that scene of him just kind of thinking about all of it as one continuous like story, how everything was connecting. That was really good.
And I feel like too, he just said, I'm not going to do anything about it because maybe this is one thing where we just need to let it take its course. Maybe this is
Yeah.
the thing that will fix this country and make a better future. So I feel like he didn't, when he found out about all that, he didn't go, oh my God, I know where he is. I know who he is. He kind of just, let's take it easy
Calmly
now.
did his thing.
And, you know, and I think too, like you said, that was just him realizing, like both of you said, that was just him realizing, like, maybe this is it. Maybe I should stop listening to the people who are the bad guys. Because I feel like at that point too, he knew that the leaders, the government, they were the bad guys. He knew by
Yeah,
the
he
end of
could
the movie.
understand.
Definitely.
Oh,
For
by the
sure.
end of the movie, for sure. I think he started thinking that right when he read the journal.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I do too.
he's sitting there, you see him in the meeting. He knew the meeting with the Chancellor, just him and the Chancellor. He knew that he was evil and that the whole system itself was evil.
It was evil. It was horrible. It was basically an oppressive government to its own people.
Yeah.
It's the Third Reich. But I want to get to that scene with the old lady. What's her name? Do you remember her name?
I have it written down right here. It was so her original name was Delia Sturridge, and she changed it to Diana Stanton.
So Diana Stan. I thought that scene with her and V in the room was one of the most powerful scenes in the movie. Just because of one
Definitely.
fact, one important fact, at least from my take of it, is she was the only person who was involved with all of those murders to say I'm sorry.
And she showed remorse.
She was
Like you could
and she
tell.
showed remorse. She's the only one. And V did not kill her violently. He's like,
No.
I killed you 10 minutes ago.
She actually cared.
She cared and she apologized. And I think that, like, that itself was just a groundbreaking point in the movie because it's like, at least one of the bad guys knows what they did was wrong. And they're apologizing for it.
Yeah.
But they still have to pay the price for how many people they've killed. And it's like, there's no way of you're going to get out of him not killing you, but he's not going to kill you like he kills everyone else.
I really like how in that scene
Yeah.
she goes, "Is it too late to apologize?" And he goes,
To apologize,
"Never."
she's like never. She's just.
Never.
And then she's like, "I'm so sorry." And then you see just like the life drain from her, and you get to the scene where her hand just opens up and the rose just kind of falls down a little
Just
bit.
falls out. Yes. It was
Mhm.
perfect. It was perfect. I love that scene so much. Very, very good. Very good
That
part of the
was
narrative.
I also thought.
it was very good.
I also thought another thing about that scene was like their relationship. I
Mhm.
think you see the way he kills everybody else is violence, and the way he kills her, she's like, so you're gonna kill me now? He goes, I killed you 10 minutes ago while
With
you
the
were sleeping. He
thing.
holds up the syringe. She goes, is it painful? And he goes, no.
No.
I think the way that I kind of interpreted that, kind of thought about that was he's like very mad at everybody else because they're the reason, like they're the people that orchestrated everything. He's mad at her because she was the one that was physically like giving the
She
people the
physically did it. She
injections.
was doing
With
her job.
she's just doing
She
her
was a
job.
part of it, exactly.
Exactly.
Her job. He was obviously mad at her, but he wasn't super mad at her because it
Yeah.
wasn't her idea. You know what I mean?
Obviously,
So I
she
think that's
deserved to
why
die.
she didn't. I don't
Oh
think he
yeah,
was like, I don't
obviously.
think she wants to hurt people. It's her job. So he killed her in a way that was non-painful.
Yeah.
But see, and that's
More
one thing I
humane.
like about exactly. That's one thing I like about the character V though. There's a difference between him and his killings and the killings of the government. The government just killed people because they wanted to do testing. They wanted to use
They wanted
their
to scare
power
people.
against their
They wanted
people.
to scare people. They wanted to really just assert themselves. Be like, you cannot do
Exactly.
anything wrong, or
Don't
we
mess
will
with
just
us.
take you out. Do not mess with us.
But V did some horrible killings and he killed her. But the one thing about V is he showed remorse. Like when she asked, and we
Yeah.
talked about, is it too late to apologize? And he goes, never. The government would never say that. They wouldn't be like, apologize and whatever. Like, we just want your forgiveness. It's like, no, they were like, you're gonna die. At least he was like, you can say sorry, and I will take that and hold it with me until I die. And that's the difference between the good and the bad within this movie. And it's just, I don't know. I thought that was a good point and good key to V's character development too, for us to realize, he's the guy. He's the good one. We want to support him because he
Yeah.
showed that remorse. He showed that love. Even love to what's her name? Evie.
Evie.
Easy.
Evie. Evie. But other than that, he's just an overall good character. He was a good guy. He was the hero.
He was. He was the
He was a
hero.
hero.
Regardless of the bad thing, morally bad things that he did,
Yes. Yes.
it was for the greater good.
He was a rebel. He was a rebel.
Utilitarianism.
Exactly. He was trying to do something even though it wasn't in the best way to do it for an end result which was good. Peace, freedom,
Yeah.
justice for
Yeah.
what those people did to him and all the other ones who either did survive or most of them who got killed. But I thought
One,
that scene overall was just perfect. Beautiful.
it was. It was really good.
I
One
think it was
thing,
my favorite scene.
one thing I really want to talk about is Valerie. I thought Valerie's
Definitely.
whole like part in the movie, the role that Valerie played in the
Story,
movie
meaning.
was the most influential, yet the most like under the radar part of the movie, because
Definitely.
that's Valerie's story is what's pushing Evie through the whole fake kidnapping, not fake kidnapping, she was kidnapped, but like the whole fake
That was wild.
interrogation.
We
Yes,
definitely
that
talked
was
about
wild.
that.
Yeah. And you see through the flashbacks with Valerie, those the Scarlet Carsons, those red roses. You see those in the flashback. That's where V got those flowers from her,
Yeah, that's
Valerie and her
why
partner Ruth.
those.
And
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
she was in Valerie was also the woman that we followed through the initial Lark Hill scenes, like in the lines and
She kept
everything,
on that
shaving the
too.
Yep.
head. Yeah,
Mhm.
I
we
noticed that.
saw her throughout the whole movie, and then she's finally introduced to us afterwards as a critical character. I
It's like, who
thought
would have
that
thought?
was the whole thing they did with her character. I thought was crazy because you're seeing her right in your face, and you have no idea who
No
she
idea
is, what
who
she
she
means
is.
to anything.
No idea.
And then towards the end of the movie, they're like, yeah, she's a pivotal point in this movie. She's the reason V has these flowers. She had this whole story that pushed Evie through and helped her cope with being stuck
Everything
in
that
that
was
solitary
going on.
confinement situation.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I just thought those notes, like that story, the way it was written, I thought it was beautiful. Like the actual like
I
words and
agree.
descriptions that she uses in those notes. I think the notes were
I
written
agree. Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
It was
But
like it was like poetry. It was beautiful what she wrote.
oh, definitely.
And
But
he like took that from her. Like he wanted to avenge her.
Yeah,
I feel like that was a big motivator behind his doings and everything he did. It's just like,
basically,
I'm doing it for everyone else and myself, but I'm also doing it for her because I
yeah.
know
yeah.
her story.
That's why
And
he uses
essentially,
flowers when he kills people, and that's why he leaves it. He's leaving that for her
yeah,
when he kills
because
everybody involved.
she is the reason he, not the reason, but that, from what I understood, that is one of the things that pushed him through
Yes.
Lark Hill
Oh, I agree.
without going insane,
I agree.
mentally insane. That's that note that she put into his wall and he got to read is what like helped him
Mm-hmm.
mentally survive and then come back as the hero to stop everything. That was his whole driving force.
I mean, hell,
Exactly.
he had a whole memorial for her in his own house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He really she meant a
The
lot to
movie
him.
poster, a lot with
Yeah,
all the
she meant a
flowers,
lot.
a
And
lot.
it also the movie also it went into gay, like being gay and what it means to be gay and like how people treat people who are gay. Like in this movie, it was horrible when they were showing like all the taking away and because they were gay, like those two guys sleeping in the bed, they just come in busting down the door and just rip them out. Like,
Yeah. And Gordon, who was also gay,
Mm-hmm.
he comes out and says how he can't even be himself because the government won't allow it.
forbid.
And it's kind of pointing fingers towards Christianity and like um the how they look to or used to look towards gays and everything, and it shows like religious extremists through in Christianity rather than anything else.
Yep, I agree.
Because he was murdered. Gordon was murdered because of the Quran that he had.
Yep.
It just
I feel
showed that
yes.
the government was also a super religious sect.
I mean, hell, the
That
priest was involved in everything. Remember the
yeah,
priest? He
exactly.
was involved in everything. So the church
Mm-hmm.
and the Christianity had something involved with the government's motives. And I think that's one of the other big pieces behind like this story too is like religion was brought up, you know, to back up what the government's doing.
Yeah,
If that kind of I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah. There's that whole lack of it was a lack of separation between that church and state because it was
exactly.
a religious state running the whole nation.
Because the whole premise in reality is like you have your government and you have your religion. They shouldn't be
They should not be
intertwined.
intermingled.
It's like this the reason they're supposed to be here religion government, but in the movie they took on that collision and that's the result we got. Which it was very difficult watching that too, just seeing them rip at those people and shaving their heads. It's just like, damn, like
Horrible.
Just because the
horrible.
government didn't like who they were. That's exactly
Exactly.
what it was because the government did not accept them for who they were.
For who they were. They were just trying to be themselves and nope, you can't do that.
Yeah, awful.
And I like how you brought up the Quran too, right? The
Yeah,
14th
because
century?
Yeah.
um, they ended up saying later on that Gordon was only going to get arrested
Until they found it.
until they found the Quran, and then they were just like, done. We can't allow
So
you to have
yeah.
that.
So right there it just
Right
is like
there, you
Christianity.
really
That's just
see.
proof. That's just Christians prevail and all other people who are any other religion get
Yeah,
out.
even
We don't
though
like you.
Gordon wasn't even Muslim. He had
No, he
it
wasn't.
just
Yeah.
as
because he liked the
Just
poetic
because he liked
He
it.
said
side of it.
exactly.
He really liked the
beautiful,
whole-
words, the message of
Exactly.
the Quran.
He said too, I don't have to be
Beautiful.
Muslim to find it beautiful,
Yeah, exactly.
or to understand it.
Because it's writing and it's history, essentially.
It's right,
It's a part of
exactly.
history.
I actually enjoyed that scene a lot when he brought her in and he was showing
Yeah,
her
me too.
everything. I was like, I like
Definitely.
Gordon. He's a cool guy.
Definitely. He had probably the only like funny line in the whole movie. He pours her a drink and him a drink. She shoots it back immediately. He just goes, "All right, cheers." He's like, "Cheers, I guess."
Yeah, I know.
Super funny. And then when he's pouring them champagne, those were all foam. What they drank was all foam. There was about this much of actual champagne in that glass. It is a terrible pour.
Not a good pour. If I served
the
that, I
British.
would get screamed at.
You get fired is what you do. Is what would happen if you
Get outta
poured something
here.
like that at work.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Horrible pour. Made me real laugh.
And his comedy show that he did on TV, like
That
his
was so funny.
thing against the Chancellor, that was hilarious. With
He was
the
like,
guard
yeah,
shooting
I
him at
just-
the end.
Hysterical.
He was just like, yeah, I wrote that whole censored script and I wrote a new one and just went with it.
He said,
I don't
"Fuck that
care.
censored
What's going to happen
script."
to me? I'm going to get fined and have to apologize.
And maybe do
And
like a
what ends up
fundraiser.
happening,
He was
that ends up
so-
leading to him getting killed.
And that was
Mhm.
horrible. This, like we said earlier, it was the same thing that happened to Evie's
Her
parents, his
parents.
mother,
Yeah,
her
that was
mother.
the exact scene. Exactly. That was the same thing.
Only
She
thing
gets
is, they
right
never
under the
checked
bed.
under.
Rolls under the bed.
They just
Because
never
she didn't
checked
yell
the
out that time
Nope.
because she knew
She-
not to do anything. She was
From
like,
past experience.
last
Mhm.
time I was found.
Mhm.
And if she was found that time, she would have been killed again.
She'd have been killed immediately.
Oh yeah.
Or that exact same situation with what followed after with V kidnapping her.
So I wanted to ask that. Was that V? Who's
That
like,
was.
I gotcha.
That was.
Yes.
That was.
Yeah. V is the one that kidnapped her right after she was out the window.
Because the first time I viewed it, I'm like, oh damn. And then I watched it today, and I'm like, but then I remember like that was all a hoax. That whole
Yeah.
torture sequence. That was
Yeah.
him doing
And
it to her.
you can kind of see through the interrogation scenes, he's almost a silhouette, but you can kind of see like right here, and you can see that it's kind of burnt flesh. If you look very closely and pay close
Mhm.
attention, you can see that it's burnt flesh over here, which is the only part that has the tiniest bit of light
Yep.
on the side of his face.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, that at that moment, I was like, that's where you kind of knew. If you paid attention to that, you'd be like, oh. Other than that, you see the mannequin afterwards, and you're like, oh.
Another thing that's crazy about the whole him having her like there, like he's the one torturing her. He shaves her head, but so does that mean that he was unmasked in front of her? She just had no idea.
So this is
that's what I was
he's the only
thinking.
one in the bunker.
the one thing that really confused me is there was multiple
Different people.
I don't know. This is something that I would have to Google.
Exactly. I don't
Mhm.
understand
But
because
That's what I'm
her
saying.
silhouettes look
Exactly. It was
different.
confusing.
Some of
Yeah,
them
there
looked
was different
bald,
people. They
some of them
sounded
looked
different.
like they had hair.
Yeah, different
Exactly.
hairstyles
Sounded
and
different.
everything.
Like I was saying with when he's cutting her hair, when someone's cutting her hair, you see their skin and it's normal. But
It's
earlier
regular
in the
skin,
movie, when you
exactly.
saw his hands, it's all
They're all
burnt and
burnt
everything.
because he's all burnt.
Mm-hmm.
So that means there's other people there, but who is that?
Who?
Who
Oh,
are they?
exactly. That's why I was kind of confused. Was that V at first? Because it's like when you see those people, it's like, why would there be people
Yeah,
with V?
you really.
That
That's one thing that really confuses me in the movie.
Yeah.
Mm.
The only, I guess, explanation I could come up with that, which I'm kind of confused about for a second. Later in the movie, Rockwood, the guy that the investigator meets with, was V.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, that's what I thought, because then it shows how he was
It
fake.
shows
with that face, that
little
face,
mask
and the wig was fake.
Which
So did he just? So are all those other people that are in the bunker when she's having the whole torture? Is that just him using makeup, wigs?
could
I'm assuming makeup on his hands, like skin tone colored makeup on his hands.
See, I
stuff
was
like that.
thinking
Like,
exactly
really
that when
could
we were
be.
talking about that. I was like, wait, he did
Exactly.
do a disguise, so could he have done a
Exactly.
disguise when he was doing that like torture to Natalie
You just use
Portman?
multiple disguises around her every time he was torturing her.
It's
Could
a
be.
Who knows?
very
It's
good
V,
possibility, and
dude.
it's
It's
something we're never
V.
gonna
Could
know the
be.
answer to.
V works in mysterious ways. And
V
knew
does
what
work
he
in
was
mysterious
doing.
ways.
Very mysterious.
Ah,
And I love too. We forgot to mention this, but it was like a small part. But earlier on in the film, when he takes her back to his place the first time, he's like cooking, and she eats it. She's like, "Oh my god, like, how'd you make this?" And he's like, "Oh, I stole it from the chancellor. Like,
I
yeah,
this
know.
is his food." It's like, "Are you kidding me?" It's just like, "Yeah, I do it all the time."
he was just like, I steal from that guy all the time. They're taking candy from a baby. I do it all the time. Like, I don't
Yes,
give a fuck.
such a banging ass
He just
line. He's like,
didn't
"Yeah,
give.
I
He's like, yeah,
stole
it's
it."
all mine
Nigga,
now.
Like, I stole this bitch. It's mine.
he was like, yeah, whatever. It's butter. Mine now. I
What
do
I
think
thought
it
was really cool. What were you saying, Trevor?
back to the whole butter and the breakfast. The first time I watched it, because I watched it earlier this week and I watched it today. The first time I watched it, you see him make breakfast, and then later on, you see Gordon make her the
Making the
exact
same thing.
breakfast. When I first watched it, in the moment, I was like, "Huh, is Gordon V?" Real fast, and I was like, "No, like
He's
no."
too
And then the
fat.
dialogue that
Huh.
followed with Gordon.
The
he's
dialogue
like,
that follows it when he's
well,
literally like, "Yeah,
I am
I'm
V. Blah 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 blah.
He's super sarcastic kind of about it. Yeah. I was figuring, well, you saw V's hands all burnt up.
Exactly.
Gordon's hands not. Unless, hey, makeup. I don't know.
Would
You
you
never know.
consider though? Do you think Gordon knew who V was
No,
secretly? You don't think so?
no idea.
Nobody did.
No idea.
Not a clue.
I don't think Gordon had a place in V's whole timeline. That was all the EV
I
side of the
don't think
story.
V even knew who Gordon was.
Probably not. He probably had no
Probably
idea who he was.
Gordon could have been a supporter though. He could have been like, "Oh, I like support
Oh,
what
I'm
he's
sure.
doing."
I'm
I
sure he
think
did support
he
him.
definitely bought into the idea, the everlasting idea. I think Gordon was bought into that.
Especially with the way that he portrayed him in the show that ultimately ended up with him getting killed.
Exactly. They made
The way
V
he
out to be
portrayed
like
him.
a smart guy.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
had the chancellor like falling all over himself.
Yeah, the
being-
chancellor was the dummy, and
Mhm.
V was
The chancellor's the one that gets shot at the end of that skit,
yeah.
and then V's just kind of hanging out, still alive. Yeah, they made V out to be the alpha or like the smarter of the battle
Yeah.
there between him and the chancellor. So I think Gordon was absolutely on V's side
Absolutely,
and bought into that idea.
Mhm.
What I
Absolutely.
thought was the most moving scene. It was my favorite scene in the movie. Was right after Evie is released from the cell, and she walks in. She sees the mannequin, and then she confronts V, and she's like, "I can't feel anything anymore," and then breaks down, just sobbing. And V goes, "You have no fear. You're completely free." Blah blah blah. Or he said that beforehand, but then she's breaking down, crying, and he's like, "Oh, this is what you're just feeling now. What you felt in the moment facing your death. That whole blankness that she had, like, kill me. I'm not telling you anything."
Yeah, she's like, I'm not saying
The
that.
true feeling about that afterwards came out when she just broke down,
Mhm.
just like sobbing, couldn't breathe.
My asthma.
That's one of my favorite scenes. I thought that was so good. And then out into the rain, just feeling the rain, and then you see the whole thing
Beautiful.
exactly like V's thing
It
with
just
the
all
fire.
played out. It just all
I was
played
like, that's crazy. It was
Because, like we said earlier, he saw
the
himself
best
in
scene.
her.
Yeah,
He saw himself in her, and he trusted her that whole time. Because as soon as she maced the security guard, that's when he knew. He was like, she's the person that I knew I was inspiring. At least there's someone out there who, what I'm doing, someone else believes in it. Maybe not at that point, but, like, she knows that the government's wrong. And what he's doing is the better way and the right way to make the country and the people feel like You know, let's live in a freedom, like a free society. Let's live in a society we know we can live in, not under this bullshit.
Definitely.
Which was, like we said, it was just phenomenal. It just all played out. When she's all like, oh, it's just in the rain, like beautiful.
Yeah, it was a great scene. Fantastic. But
Yeah.
I have this
I
note
think-
here, about how that whole epidemic changed the tide of the election and was used to usurp the the power, and it's just weird the way it lines up because we're currently in a pandemic and
All right.
there's an election coming and it's fucking weird. And
Oh yeah.
there's been tons
that
of
was one of my
theories
notes too.
that this whole virus was released from a lab, like not on purpose. It just escaped accidentally afterwards, but it was made in a lab. That's one of the conspiracies, and it's like that just really resonated in my head. I was like, that's ding, 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 all the alarms going off. That's something that just really struck me, and I really wanted to bring that up with you guys. I wanted to see if
No,
you
it's a
guys,
great
what you guys
point.
thought
It's
about
a
that.
great point. Trevor, you look like you have something to say.
Was interesting connection of that whole premise to what's going on right now.
The timelines just sync up too well. They sync up
Perfectly.
too well. I was like, this is crazy. Are we
This is
watching a movie of what's going to happen in the future? Is this going to
Exactly.
be
I was
us
looking
under
stuff
lock
up.
and key?
A quarantine zone, curfews, stuff like that.
Is whoever the next
I was
president
looking
is?
stuff up afterwards. There was so many things that were like, did V for Vendetta just totally predict what like 2020 is?
They could
Like,
have.
it's
They
so
might have. Could
It
have.
could have.
perfectly
Who knows?
lined
We're
up.
still living it.
We're still living it.
Like shit. It was uncanny how
Damn, that means we need someone like V to be alive.
similar.
Facts.
that
Where's he at?
is.
Where's he at, dude? Where's V?
Where's V at? Ah.
Yeah.
What'd
who
you guys
knows?
think about
Maybe whoever wins this election is just gonna take all the power away from everybody and just start ruling with an iron fist, just like the chancellor did.
Chancellor.
Well, we'll see.
Uh-oh.
Oops.
Mr. Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought the whole, I guess, the last like 20-25 minutes, I thought was beautifully done. Beautiful.
when?
The whole end of it.
From when those costumes get
would-
sent out, from like the whole
I
Eevee
would
thing from then on.
I would say when she gets let out and she's back in the normal, and then it's the scene with Rockwood. I think as soon as you saw Rockwood, that kind of started the end because it was that, and then the inspector started to understand everything. But then one of the scenes right after, which one of my notes was, when V has all the donos set up, that's kind of starting. It's a real start to the end because he's just like, all right, let's start. He's like,
I
let's
thought
start
the
the plan.
dominoes-
The dominoes looked
The
cool.
dominoes, like, yep.
The dominoes
I
looked
can
cool
only
as fuck.
imagine the
The preparation,
time,
how
preparation,
long that
everything.
takes.
The sheer amount of stress that whoever had to set all those dominoes up in the perfect way so that they could all go, all of these dominoes, hundreds of dominoes would fall just
Perfectly.
and then meet here and
there's
hit
one still standing.
the one thing. So it's two dominoes. My fingers are the two dominoes, and then the last one is standing straight up.
Mm-hmm.
How many takes did that take? I really want to know how long that took because it had to have been 5 hours worth of stuff just to get that scene a couple times.
Because if it
5
doesn't
hours.
work, you have to then pick up all of those dominoes, set them back up, try it again.
And it's not like it's red dominoes and black dominoes either. It's you have half red, half black domino, and you have to make sure it's set up the right way.
Yeah,
It took
Those
200. It
cool.
took 200 hours completely to to put all those dominoes in a V.
That's
A setup. It took assemblers 200 hours to set up.
that is longer than a week.
That's longer than a week.
That's longer than a week.
That is.
That's like what 8-9
That's an
days.
absurd amount of time.
That's
That's just an absurd amount of time.
8-9 days equivalent in hours. That's insane.
Wow. 200 hours.
Wild.
22,000
Well,
dominoes were in that scene. 22,000 dominoes.
Do you know how many
200
people
hours.
set that up? Does it say?
Holy shit. It had to be
If
multiple
it's one
people.
person,
No. It was a
One
bunch of people. No.
Yeah.
They
Shout
deserve
out that guy.
the
for
biggest
that.
Dude. No.
But
It took 4 people.
Four
Four
people?
professional domino assemblers, 200 hours to set up that V.
imagine
so 4
us
people.
schmucks trying to set that up. It would
and
literally
imagine
take
idiots
us
like us trying to do
6
it,
months trying to set
knocking
that
them
up.
over all the time.
Just
clearly-
to fuck it up and start again.
Clearly, their
Dude, my
profession showed
shaky
because they were
hands
able to
wouldn't be
do
able to
it.
Obviously, because that was beautiful.
That was beautiful. They were professionals. But imagine just 4 people did that. 200 hours, like, wow.
That's crazy.
insane.
But see, that's what you
Absolutely.
get out of that. You know, that beautiful shot with a beautiful, set with those dominoes all lined up perfectly. It's just like, if everything works, that's what you're going to get for the end piece. And it was beautiful. And I have a question for both of you. Do you think that last domino represented something? Like, I have a question. Like, I question that. Do you think that last domino, when he picked up, what did that represent? Or do you think he just picked it up? Because that was in the back of my
You
mind
see, I don't
every
know.
time.
I
I'm just
think-
like, whoa.
I think it was definitely supposed to submit something. I'm not really sure what, because I don't know. Unless it's the literal, this is the last domino, as in today is the last, as in that November 5th is the last day, time to go blow up Parliament. You know what I mean? Like, it's the last domino. Today is the last domino to fall.
Like, it's time.
Yeah, like
You know
that.
what? Every
Like that
domino
domino
has
could be the
fallen to
hope.
come to this day, and now here is the domino in my hand. We're also living in the last domino of the timeline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say there?
No, yeah,
How-
yeah, of course.
how that-
I guess that's how
last
to take it in
domino-
a literal way.
Is that last domino is the faith that all of his supporters have in him, and he's taking that, and those dominoes all fall, representing like the government, and how he's taking all of the people in that one last standing domino on his side to stand up against this tyrannical government that happens to be the others that just fall and collapse over each other.
To add to that, do you
That's
think you
my
could
take.
say no? That's a great take. I may want to add to that. Like, do you think that domino represented himself? Like you said, all those people fall down. They all followed him, and that one domino was him, and his last duty, like Trevor said, and that was the last
Yeah.
hoorah. And
The
all
one
those,
they look towards.
yes, the symbol, not the man, the symbol, and he was that last
Yes.
domino, that last symbol.
The
And
what?
this is what I'm
It's
going to
the
do.
what? The idea.
It's the what? It's the exactly.
The whole premise of the movie is the what rather than the who.
Exactly, and I think that
Mhm.
domino scene had a much bigger meaning and impact than I feel like an average Joe Schmuck audience goer would think of. You know,
I
I feel like it held deeper meaning.
It definitely had a meaning.
Those are great takes, actually. Damn, I didn't think about that.
Well, this is what this is for.
Great
The
takes,
meeting of the
both of you.
minds.
Great takes. Great.
Yo,
That
did you guys notice that in the final scenes when everyone's taking off the masks in the crowd, like the massive crowd, they're people that were at Lark Hill. Valerie is one of the people you see in the last scene
They're all
where she
there.
takes off her mask.
Mhm.
They're all
It's her
there.
Yep.
and a bunch of the other people that died
The
Yep.
people in the
being
pubs.
represented
Everyone.
right there
Mhm.
as
Everyone.
who the people are. That's what they were fighting for.
Mhm.
And of course, that ending explosion, when the final shot, it's the V in the air. And everyone's looking towards it like, that's who we are. That's what we believe in. Not them, that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
And that V,
at the same
of course,
time, that's when Evie is going on her own monologue. When the inspector asks, "Oh, who was V?" and she's like,
oh, I love that scene.
she said a name. I forget the name. She says a name, then she goes, "My father my mother, my brother,
my brother,
my friend,
you.
me,
You,
you,
yes.
all of us.
All of us.
And
It
it's
was an
showing all of
idea.
that, and then everyone's looking at the V.
And it just cuts to the
And
V.
it's everybody.
It's everyone because it is everyone. It's what everyone believes in. Deep down, that's what everyone believes in. Not this tyrannical Hitler, Third Reich run government, this totalitarianism government. No, they believe in freedom, equality, justice, what a country should be like. And they get that from the V.
Exactly.
What a movie. What a
It was a
movie.
fantastic movie.
It
Oh,
was beautifully done. Beautifully done. The camera work was cool. Like we were talking earlier, with all the birds, all the
cinematography,
up
yeah.
top views. Those were super cool. The music, there wasn't too much music in the scenes, but when they had the music in the background, it really, I think, helped set up the mood and like the aura of each scene that had the music. I thought it was really good.
I loved the classical music used
Yes.
because
Yes.
classical music is always related to calm, like relaxing moods, and you're giving this classical music explosions. Usually you'd be like, oh yeah, we're listening to like some heavy metal, like blowing shit up. No, we're gonna listen to some nice piano, Beethoven type of shit.
Exactly. I was just gonna say like Beethoven, all those
classical
music that was made in like the 1700s. Like those artists put so much detail and thought into them. Like that was groundbreaking stuff. There's so much to them. It's not like today where it's just all rushed and pathetic. It's like those classical songs and the music is just there's way more meaning to them, and they fit perfectly with like movies like this. You know?
Yeah.
And it was
It has
just
such a greater message and portrayal of the world than what is
exactly
what you would like think off the bat.
Exactly. It serves a greater
It's
purpose.
just so much more under the surface.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Shit. Something came into my head, and it just went out. It just left.
It happens.
It happens.
Whatever. I thought the movie was real good.
I thought the movie was
just
really
one of my
good.
favorite
real
movies.
Well done.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, wait, we didn't even talk about the scene when he's kicking everyone's ass and kills them all.
Oh,
That
dude,
scene
he
was
goes like
amazing.
1v10. Dude, he goes 1v10.
That scene was amazing.
So much.
Just,
Yo.
oh
So,
my god.
Before that, when he's in the train station, like the underground with Evie,
Mm-hmm.
she goes, "Oh, where are you going?" And he's like, "I'm going
Go
to meet my maker." And then he says something afterwards along the lines of how he's gonna like just get rid of him.
That's it. Yeah.
He's like, it's my time.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna meet my maker and I'm gonna bring him with me, type of thing.
And I finally understood when he went to what's the guy? Not the chancellor, but the other main guy. Creedy. I realized when he went to his house, he was like, put the X on the thing to know like you're gonna do this for me. And he did.
The X was in the Lark Hill scenes, the X's were all for on the doors.
People that were dead.
All for the prisoners that weren't making it.
That were
Because room 5, where V comes from, the V for 5,
didn't have one.
Did not have the X because he was the only one that underwent like some crazy mutations which made him V.
Who he was,
the character.
Yeah, it made him just
all those X's were like, yeah, these people are dying. They're
athletic
dead.
freak, just literally made in the lab.
But it was cool because when he did like put the X, and then of course when we get to that scene when he's at the subway, it's like you hear the Chancellor speaking, and then when he's done speaking, you see right away the scene cuts to the next scene. Bam!
They take the bag off, and it's him.
It's him. It's just like, damn, this was all planned from V. It's just like
he just goes,
so good.
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
Bang.
The dome.
Bang. Yeah, nah. And then when they go to kill him, and he's like, he just goes, you guys better hope that I'm not standing by the time you guys are done firing, because if you are, you're all gonna die before you reload.
You won't have time to reload.
You won't have time to reload.
By the time you reload. And he goes,
and then he just
bollocks. You hear Greedy go, bollocks.
And he's like,
I mean,
by the
everyone
end
knew
of
it
this,
was there.
Boom, 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 boom.
by the end of this shootout, my hands would be around your neck. And then he did.
Yeah,
It's just like,
because I'm gonna kill you. Having you together.
whoa. It's
My
like,
hands
what?
around your neck. I was like, damn.
That's exactly what happened.
Damn. Yeah.
Ate those bullets. Dude. He ate
And they
those
both died.
bullets. Yep.
And V went into it knowing he was dying.
Everybody fucking died.
But that
Like,
sheer
it said,
of,
I'm dying.
but it's that belief he
But
had
you know what
of
doesn't
what he
die?
was doing.
The idea.
The
It's not
idea
about
Exactly,
who,
the
but the what.
idea.
The idea doesn't die.
Which gave him that motivation to take all those bullets and just, I'm gonna finish this because I'm not the man. I'm the idea, and ideas
Mhm.
never get like destroyed or
Ideas
whatever.
never.
Yeah, the
die.
whole
No, ideas never die.
the whole
Exactly.
overarching theme was how the idea does not die, no matter what. Because going back to Guy Fawkes in the fucking 17th century, or whatever it was, hundreds of years later, the idea was still there. And the idea was finally fulfilled, blowing up the parliament, freeing the people. Finally fulfilled after hundreds of years. The idea was always there, and it carried on for hundreds of years before it came to fruition.
It can't exactly.
Exactly. That whole scene was just badass as fuck.
It was very badass, and especially when he was like, "See, I put my hands around your neck," and he just picked him up and just like
throwing
And the
knives.
slow-mo camera work.
So
You're
crazy
seeing
the
the-
slow-mo.
You're seeing the trail off the tip
So
of the
cool.
knives as they're moving. Just everything. He's just like whoosh.
It's like this man just ate
Slice,
80-something bullets.
At least. Yeah.
And my man was
There
just like, my
10
turn.
people, and they all unloaded full clips on him.
Dude, when he said my
And
turn.
then what's his face unloads a second round of 6 on him right before. He's like, die, like,
Why won't you die?
And he goes, because ideas are bulletproof.
After he picks him up, dude.
Ideas
don't die.
and
Because
then
ideas are bulletproof.
Exactly.
And then, chokes him up against the thing, breaks his neck. But the fact his ideas are bulletproof, badass line, tough line.
Because it's true. It's a true statement.
They're bulletproof.
It's a true statement.
The ideas will always shine through.
Mm-hmm.
That you can't shoot them down.
So cool. He was so cool.
And then he dies in Eve's arms.
I was having this
stop the bleeding.
conversation.
Sad.
Me and my brother
Cold
were having
emotion.
this argument earlier this week. Do you consider V a superhero?
Superhero.
I
no.
consider him a rebel. A vigilante
I
slash
agree.
rebel.
I agree.
I saw something that called him an anti-hero. Kind of like how like Deadpool.
That
Anti-hero.
see, that's the what's it called? I kind of settled on that while talking to my brother. I don't think he's a hero at all. I mean, he is a hero, but not a superhero.
Yeah, he's not a superhero. I wouldn't. Nah, he's not
Like
a superhero.
he has
he's
that
not.
like he has crazy strength and everything, but like
He's like a Batman.
but
but
he's Batman's a superhero. I don't think he's a superhero.
Batman's not a
He's-
superhero. He's a
hero.
He's a hero.
In the sense of the story,
Yes.
but I don't consider this a superhero movie at all.
Me neither.
Definitely not.
I
You know, it was actually
Me and my brother were
a
having
comic
this
book
argument.
first in like the 80s.
I haven't read the comic book.
Yeah.
I wish I had.
Me neither.
I want to.
I didn't know. I
wish
didn't know
did.
either until I was looking stuff up today. But yeah,
But
comic book
I
from,
saw
like,
it a
the
couple
80s.
of years ago in our comic book class. I saw it in our comic book class. Comic book.
I remember.
And I was like, oh, I should read that. Never did.
V for Vendetta.
Fantastic movie.
V for
Hugo
Vendetta.
Weaving did a great job as him.
Amazing job.
He's been in so many movies too. What a guy. What a lad. What a lad.
Lad.
Oh,
But now I think Natalie Portman did a great job too. I thought her acting was really good. You know, obviously Natalie Portman standards, like she's always gonna be good.
oh
She
she's a
was.
great actress.
She was
She's
really good in
fantastic.
this movie.
She's the best.
Like the fact that she's able to like just say, yeah, shave my hair off. Like as a girl
She's
too.
like,
Like I
yeah,
don't know
sure.
if that's like a thing to say,
Well,
but like she just
Did
said,
they
yeah,
really shave her head for the movie?
they had to.
It
I
looks
mean,
super real. Sometimes you can tell when people have wigs on. You can just tell that it looks kind of weird. She looked normal.
She
like
looked,
it looked super normal, like regular. Like that was her actual head.
Yeah.
Plus, didn't she used to have short hair? Like
Yeah,
actually,
because
and
she
like,
had to do
styled
it for
short after.
she had to do it for the movie Black Swan. I think that's what the
Yeah,
movie
so
called.
she's
The
done it
ballet
before.
movie. She was shaved. And this movie came
Yeah.
out in 2005, and that movie came out in 2010. So 5 years difference, but I mean, she's that
That's something
actress.
she's
She
open
goes
to.
through.
It's just something she's
She's
open
Yeah, I
like,
to.
just
just
looked
do
it
it.
up. She did.
She did.
I
Right?
had to
Also
look
the
it up
role.
just to get the 100% fact. She did.
It looked real to me. It looked like, damn, they're
It
really
did look
shaving her
very
hair.
real.
It was real because it was real.
Exactly.
It was real.
Because
Yeah,
it was.
Oh, Natalie Portman. Gotta love her.
Star Wars.
Gotta love her. Padme.
You're wearing the shirt too.
He is. I'm very happy you are.
Always have the Star Wars shirt on. Always.
I wish we could
We're
have
not
been in
talking about
person
Star Wars
for.
right now. We're not talking
No,
about Star Wars.
Hold on. I wish we could have been in person for this whole first go with this.
Trust
If
me, when we
only.
come back for Christmas break, hopefully, if we can get some in.
We will.
Oh, we will for sure. In a nice little studio looking thing.
So overall thoughts about the movie, like out of 10, what do you guys give it?
11. It's up there. I say this about a lot of movies. Like I said this about Dazed and Confused and a couple other movies. This movie is legitimately one of my favorites. It's very hard for me to think of a movie that I like more than this. Off the top of my head right now, I cannot think of one.
Not even Dazed?
Interesting.
Not even Dazed and
Interesting.
Confused. I mean, I've watched it
I thought it
twice
was real
in the past
good.
2 weeks, this movie.
I thought it was real good too.
And I've watched it a million times in general. I love this movie.
It's real good. I don't know. I'd give it like an 8 something. Like an 8.
I was gonna give it an 8.5.
I was gonna say 8.4 to 8.6. Yeah. Yeah. I liked it a lot. I did.
Me too.
I definitely did. I thought it was real good. But I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Any other comments?
I mean, hopefully people, whoever do see this, hopefully they go watch the movie, take a look at it. It's a good
hopefully.
movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, looks like that's all we have for comments. So thanks for everybody who listened, and hopefully tune in next week as well. We'll be talking about the new movie, The Tax Collector, with the new one with Shia LaBeouf. Very excited for that.
Very excited.
Very excited. That's
Very excited.
It's going to be a good time talking about it next week. I'm excited to watch it.
Me too.
So yeah, tune in next week, guys.
Awesome. Peace.
All right.
Later.